What's up, what's up, what's up? And we're starting this thing, Aesthetic Businesses Podcast. What's up, what's up, what's up? It's Marques Cotto with Aesthetic Business with Mike Mendez. Man, dude, it has been a rough week for me, you know? I know we were supposed to do the podcast last week, and I was like, no. I had a rough Saturday night, rolled into a crazy morning, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step back and get my shit together because I'm not gonna have a bad Sunday. That's why I was like, I would do it next week, and you were like, yeah, it's cool, you know. And then the roll that I know I was supposed to be on the podcast like 2 hours ago. All right, I'm like super late, you know. And matter of fact, we're gonna tie that in. That night was supposed to go to Hibachi, had a 2 hour wait in Hibachi restaurant. Right, and an hour to wait for the table, and then an hour sitting down at the hibachi table, right? And mind you, I had to go pick my daughter up from work. You know, I was at a certain time. But you not know a 2-year-old's attention span at a hibachi table. After 20 minutes, he was yelling, eat, throwing stuff at the hibachi. He was throwing stuff at the hibachi stove. You know, it was like nobody was there, you know. So being 2 years old, I had ordered sushi. And I was like, yo, man, let me just let you try some sushi. Because I always let him just eat the rice. So I let him eat it. And he was like, because he likes fish anyway, you know. Man, did I not pay for that for the last 4 or 5 days. That dude has been, like, I've had to go through about, like I said, about 40, 30 diapers, something like that. Now he's just... Yeah, man, it's just been wild. So anyway, it's been rough, and had to do some stuff this morning and tie that all in. He's actually feeling better, you know, so he's just been eating like crazy. So, but anyway, I still got everything done. And besides all that and having, being the stay-at-home power dad, you know, for the last almost year, you got to learn how to adapt and just get shit done. You know what I mean? And then I've actually got like a little system down where it's like, I'm good, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's crazy, man. Cause it's like, you know, like seeing what you've done. I've known you for years. So I've seen you evolve that with your business side, a couple of deals coming through here and there. And one of the things that I've never really heard you talk about is like, hey man, I got this at home. I can't be doing this. I'm a single dad for a little bit of time while the wife takes care of what she has to take care of. And you got it on lock, but you've never complained about it.
Yeah, dude, you won't, I just, you know, I'm like old school, like, you know, 80s kid, you know, and I'm from the South. It's like, you don't talk about like your stuff you have like bad. You just handle business. You just still handling your stuff, you know, like talking about it, like bitching doesn't get things done. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's military too. It's like, yo, okay, you done bitching, the shit still needs to be done, you know? Right. Yeah, so.
But I think that's really good for today's topic is really talking about no excuses. Because excuses are everywhere. Everyone got them. I mean, you know, there's always those sayings. And for you, 4 days, right? And then even last week, again, we're supposed to be on the podcast and something came up and you're just like, hey, man, I'm not in the right, you know, I just don't want to do this right now. We can do it later. It's like, bet. Because still got, you know, I mean, there's things I got to get taken care of. And so those are it. So we can go into that part of excuses. What are some excuses that, you know, I know you don't like to talk about your business, but what are some things you think you have an excuse on that just don't exist excuse for you anymore?
Man, time used to be an excuse for me. Like, and I think everybody can relate to this. Even when I'll just go back to when I first started, when I even think about starting a business, I was like, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do this. You know, like, when am I ever going to start a business? You know? And then I sat back one day, I was in my office. Nobody, you can relate to this being in the military. I was in my office one day and I was just like, I looked over at my sergeant and something just like an epiphany hit, was like, I don't want your job, because that's the next thing. That desk is going to be mine. You know, I was like, I don't want to do that. And then I started going up the chain. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It looks like it's going to be 3 hours of sleep for a long time, you know? So then I remember going to my supervisor and I was like, dude, I want to do this, do that. And he was just like, bro, I should bring him on this podcast one day, you know? because he knows me like from my core, you know. And he was like, "This is gonna work out." He's like, "Go for it," you know. And then honestly, so time was always a big issue for me, you know. And then once I mastered that, and honestly, what really helped me out with time, I hate to say it, was ALS. ALS helped me out with time management. And if y'all don't know what ALS is Airman Leadership School, right? And basically they teach you, you go to school to learn how to be a leader, right? And they just bombard you with all this shit, and you're just gonna build. And yeah, when you first get there, you're just like, yo, this got to be a joke, you know. But then at the end of the weeks of doing that, it's like, you know, you teach you how to organize and everything like that. So that totally has helped me out.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, going back to ALS, like, you know, so to give a background to some of these people, what it is for the Air Force, you're at an E4 level, and to the next level is E5. And for us to get to that E5 level, you have to go to a school pretty much. You're going to military education. I think it's 5-6 weeks or something like that. And it's pretty simple. If you don't graduate, you have to graduate. If you don't get the next rank. It's pretty, like, you know, and on top of schoolwork, you have lessons you got to do. You got to do speeches. You got to do marching. Like it's not like it's a class, but then it's also military. You got PT you got to do. And then if you're lucky, right. And if you're lucky enough, your command lets you go away for that time frame and not concentrate on it. However, I had that situation where I was still on the base that I was doing it. So after, you know, you still got work people calling you because things are still going on. So, I mean, you have to learn how to juggle. And the best excuse that you would have is sitting there saying, like, I joined the military not to go to school. Right. And that's not the case with them. Like, because going back to what you were saying earlier, you could look at the next ranks and sit there saying, well, to get to that rank, I got to go to this education. To go to that higher education or go to that higher rank, I had to go to the next education, at least 3 educations, you know, potentially until you retire for enlisted. And so we're going to that part, and you're learning time management. You're learning about time and those things. Now, one of the big things you mentioned before, you were overseas doing bodybuilding, right? So you're doing bodybuilding.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. And at the time I was bodybuilding. Like a lot of people know I was bodybuilding. You know how they make you go to school a little bit. I was doing that. Still had, and my daughters were living with me full time. You know, a lot of people didn't know that. I was like a E3 living off base, E4 living off base, like just doing all that. Dude, it was just so much. Clients, dieting for shows, because a lot of people don't know I started bodybuilding overseas. My first bodybuilding show was in England. Okay. Was in England, and that was awesome. Ended up winning that show, and just it's I've learned a lot just with juggling so much on my plate, you know. Coming back to the States, I totally remember being maxed out coming back from the States. You're talking about client base was booming, right? It was all overseas based because nobody knew who I was coming back, right? A lot of overseas booming. I was dieting for my show. I was cross training, so I had to be in that school. I was living in a hotel, right? I had to live in a hotel for 2 months, right? With no stove, no nothing. So I had to buy and this is what I'm talking about, this no excuse. I had to go buy what was that thing called? New Wave oven and hide it every day because I was dieting for a show, you know? I was dieting for a show. I had my kids on the weekend because they lived in Ohio at the time, so I would get them on the weekend. Right. And then, man, just thinking about it was just so much. Then on top of the school, we had tests all the time. So I would literally get and then answering all the overseas clients and stuff like that, I would probably get about 3 hours of sleep a night. Right. When I got back to the States, I was getting about 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. And that was rough. And I did that for probably about 2 years, man. You know?
Yeah. And what's, you know, like we can go through each one of those scenarios, like having kids on the weekends, sitting there saying, you know what, on the weekends, like I can't do this. I can't do that. That's an excuse, right? My kids are more important to me. That could be an excuse. Or, hey, I'm not going to see my kids because I got X, Y, Z. That's another excuse. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should wait for a different show when I'm settled in. You know, that's probably the biggest excuse you could have.
Oh my gosh. I hear that all the time, you know, and this is what I say to this. And I tell this all the time. No matter what the fuck is going on, like bodybuilding or just working out, you gotta look at things as simplistic as fucking possible. I'm gonna repeat that again. Simplistic as fucking possible, right? And this is what I'm saying. You're literally just fixing your food, going to the gym, and going to sleep. If you can get those 3 wins for the day, you're good. Because no matter what, if you don't do that shit anyway, whatever the hell you got going on in your life is going to happen.
Yep.
Right? Kids is going to cry. Boss is going to yell. You going to be late. Right? Husbands, wives are going to do what the fuck they want to do. Right? But the only thing you can do is control your own bubble. And a lot of people use this, I got to take care of myself. As I can't take care of myself, I have to do other people. You're really doing yourself an injustice. You're like a time bomb almost.
Yep.
You know? So when it comes to organization, and it just has to, you just got to have that go get them attitude. Like for me, you can ask my kids. For me, there's only a plan A. There's never a plan fucking B. Sink or swim. That is it. Because if you leave a little room for a plan B, a little slip, you have an excuse. You think you have an escape route. That's an excuse to like not do anything. If you shut all those doors and trap yourself in, you'll make something happen. Yeah.
And, you know, and something else I want to go back to is you're talking about your 4-day little adventure with little man going over there and having some food. So he's having these kind of issues going back and forth. What about the entrepreneur side? Do you still have things going on? Do you still got deals going on? How does that work for you?
Oh, man, dude. Yeah, hell yeah. So just that triplex, you know, just a triplex, clients, competing, getting organized for everything. It starts with time. I have to wake up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning every day because my life is so packed, right? But I won't ever use having children, having to do things as an excuse not to get shit fucking done. You would never hear me say that, right? I don't know a lot of dads that would just do what I did, just lose so much fucking damn revenue, just be like, stop, come on over, you know, and get things done. So my day starts at 4:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I go to the gym. I'm out the gym by 6:30 in the morning, right? Me and you are usually texting by 5:30 in the morning because you're right. So it's any little slip that you have to get things done, you need to take it. Mm-hmm. There's nobody's coming to say, I love that. No one's coming. There's like that. No one's coming, you know? So if you want to change your life or if you want to get to that next level, that next move, you know, the universe is showing you, hey, here's the window.
Yep.
Are you going to open it or are you going to shut it? Because it ain't going to stay open forever. So, yeah.
You know, that's what, like, you know, I wake up at 4:59 and what I found the same thing with you is like, you want to get something done for you. I think first thing in the morning, I think it's very imperative to be selfish for yourself. I need to take care of me. And so what I do is like, okay, you know, Jim, again, we start texting around that time frame. We'll start sending something like those things, but we're in the gym at the same time frame, roughly. And what I've noticed is like, you start doing that, you start taking care of yourself first and putting fitness, man, one of the reasons why, and I know why you do it too, because kids ain't awake around that time frame. You can actually get some like reflection in, you can lift some weights, you can take care of that. And so you got that. But what about at nighttime? How are you handling nighttime?
Man, nighttime is a process, right? Just like I have my process in the morning. I have to meditate in the morning, like I have to, right? Just like at night, I have a process. I have to be in the bed by a certain time. I have to get these kids in bed by a certain time. I want emails done by a certain time, right? So I don't answer emails past a certain time because I'm doing other things, right? But whatever I try to get everything I need to do pushed out in the morning, right? Kind of like how that Shark Tank dude says it. When he pushes everything out in the morning, and he says his offense, right? He pushes everything he needs to be done in the morning, because once I answer one fucking text or one email, I'm on defense for the rest of the day, right? I am constantly going back and forth with people, time frames and stuff like that. And usually in the morning, I'm answering after the gym. I answer my overseas clients first because I know they're like, waiting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I want to like highlight that you said, I hope people understood was there's like verbiage is very important, right? How you talk to yourself and those things, but also the word I have to. The have to, you mentioned it several times. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. And what people understand is like when it comes to everything we're talking about for aesthetic business, the word have to fits into all of them, right? You have to work out. You have to eat right. You have to make sure you're done by this time. And not only that, but you have to make sure your kids are done by a certain time because that affects you the next day. Can you go a little bit more into that idea of like, I have to versus, and how that affects your excuse?
For me, okay. So for me personally, like I have to take care of myself. Cause I know if I am not whole, if I'm not taking care of me, it's going to totally reflect out and project in everybody else. I'm just a big firm believer in just that fitness or just bodybuilding really exposes who you are to your core, right? We talked about that not too long ago. It exposes you to your core because if you can't be disciplined enough to take care of yourself, right? And you're not collected, you're probably more than likely, I can tell by how a person's life is how they died, right? How they die, how their finances is, how their relationships are, how stressed they are. I can just totally tell by a person how they died because if you can't, you're not taking enough time to take care of yourself, right? And a lot of people think that, I got to take care of everybody else, and that's not the case. It starts here and then it resonates out. So for me, my kids, they everybody sees me take care of myself and everything like that, but that also trickled into their life. They do the exact same thing. Because they know they're not going to get enough out of everything if they're not taken care of. And that for them is food and just, I even have them get their own me time because they need it.
Right.
High school's brutal, bro.
Yeah. And so we're talking about that. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody sitting there saying, you know what, like, well, I don't have those kids. I don't have that. I have a different excuse. And I would talk about some of the excuses I have. Because they're a little bit different, right? Of course, both of us have family, and I think we both know that is, man, when you got a little girl and she's like, hey, can you do this? Can you like that? You're not going to tell your little girl no. No. So one of the excuses I have two actually big ones that I think can go both into it. One is fitness. I'm 36. And so and I told Q this, like my goal since 2018 was to get down to 195. I was at 205 and I can get down to 203 by killing myself. Like my knees would buckle because I was going so hard. And we're talking about like start Monday on a 205 and Friday we're at 203. That's what I'm trying to say. Like we would go that way and we're boom, boom, boom. And so we started working together and it's like, I was like, man, I told my wife, like I'm 36, like I'm up for a challenge. And this has been the easiest amount of weight I've lost, right? Like it's fairly simple, man. I'm doing it. We're doing it. We're working together on this one. You're telling me those things. And what I found for me is my excuse is I'm 36. It's hard to lose weight. It's hard to do these things. I got bone spurs. I got arthritis in my knees, hip issues, back issues, military issues in general. But here I am trusting the process and we're 10 pounds low. We already tested 194 this week already and it was low. And I was like, man, you've already told me like, hey, you're going to be out of the 190s. And it's like, all right, like we just trust the process and keep going. And so that's one some people have. I can't lose weight. Man, you can.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think once people, words have power, straight up, right? Words have power. And I also think that you are in a total different place. Like I think once we got together, I think all the stress, even before then, you just start really collecting yourself, less stressful. You got your entrepreneur thing going on. You got everything in line. So that this really, actually, this is a good point, brought this in for you to collect for yourself, right? And you had enough energy to put into yourself. Put me into the picture, and actually, this is a partnership. And now things are like clicking. Things are smooth, right? Your body's less stressed. No cortisol. Workouts are so easier, right? You basically gave the will to me and be like, whew, that fucking feels better. Now you got things that now adding me to your team, you can do other things that you want to do and fucking be boss as fuck and feel great doing it. Look at your face. It's like, slimmed up.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
And, and that's what really good. Like, I think that's what and also I feel a little bit better about myself too, right? Like, I know I can work. I know I'm a workhorse, but when you're sitting there saying I'm doing pretty much the workouts have changed a little bit, I'm feeling better. So I'm able to push more. But man, I'm like, dude, I've been trying this from 2018 to get it. We're in 2022. Mm-hmm. And it's, I mean, writing the goal down, doing this, like writing it out, how many get here. And it almost came to the point where like, man, maybe I'm getting to that point where I won't be able to. Now we're like, man, like when
it's because you spoke the words, right?
Right.
I won't, I can't. Yep. I'm 36. Yep. Motherfucker, I'm 39 years old. I'm about to turn 40 this year. That shit's crazy. So yep. I don't feel like it. I feel like I'm like 30.
Yeah. And that's a key one is like when people sit there and say, hey, my age, there's that. You show pictures every so often about your off season, and it's like, not for you. Like, you know what I mean? What's the difference, right?
No. You know what people, I want to talk to like the college kids, right? The college kids, besides the parents, have these young kids just don't handle stress well, right? And you have to understand, like, sometimes things are just is, right? Things are just is. Sometimes there is no excuse. There is no, hey, I got to get this shit done. This is just what's going on. I just can't do this today because I have all this going on, right? Like for them, it's more like exams. I'll take exams, for example. Every college kid I have or any person in school, when exams is coming up, their weight is funny as shit to watch. All of their weight just shoot the hell up, right? Shoot the hell up. And they hit me up all spazzing out, and I'm just dying laughing. Well, yeah, you're staying up late cramming. Your teacher's stressing you the hell out. You got shit due. Like it's a lot going on, but that's accounted stress. It needs to be like you need to learn your body and be like, hey, that's accounted. This is not an excuse. This is just is.
Right.
So, and I think a lot of people just need to learn the difference, especially them, and not get so flipped out on just is, hey, this is my life and my situation right now. It's not that I don't have excuses, is I got to get to class.
Yep.
Just something as easy as that. Because I think social media has just put this program in people's head that, like, if you're not doing shit, that you're not shit. If you're not going hard enough, then you're not shit. Yeah, that should be a rap song, right? So anyway, so I'm just saying, like, that's not the case. Sometimes just is just is. Sometimes work has you stressed out and things are going on. You got this deadline to meet. Well, yeah, you're going to be stressed out. Your life ain't the same as it was last week when your boss wasn't in your ass. Right. Sometimes it just is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so excuse number 2 for me. I have dyslexia, right? So dyslexia is like a learning disability in that sense. And even saying the word disability, I don't like saying that word because it's like I'm capable. So, that's my excuse. I have that as an excuse. Why? Because reading is very difficult for me. It is very hard. Online education and those type of things is very hard for me. Being in class is very hard.
I couldn't even tell. You're like one of the smartest motherfuckers I know.
Well, this is something else that I want to. This actually segments this about what we're about to come into, though. So this is my excuse, right? I am dyslexic. I have adult dyslexia, by the way. I didn't figure it out until I was in college. Until someone was like, had me reading, was like, hey man, like a small classroom of 5 people, and was like, hey, and I started learning what I have issues with. Right. And so it's like, that makes sense. Like I actually, honestly, and this is like I'm not proud of this. I really don't know the alphabet. Legit. Like I get really like, you'll see me slow down. I'm like, M, N, and I get confused. I don't even know proper grammar. Like if anyone's ever read anything I do, I just put a comma in places because I generally don't know.
King of like proper grammar. What the fuck is that?
Right.
Go ahead.
And it's like I found another way to get by, which was girls. That's just the whole honest truth. Girls did all my homework for me, and that's how I graduated. And so that is my excuse. But because of that, though, and this is a segue into those things where it's like, where does your excuse? You can turn your excuse from an excuse into something that gives you power. And the reason why I say that is I have a bachelor's of cybersecurity. I have multiple certifications for computers. I passed my real estate. I read books. Now, I try to read at least.
Told you he was intelligent.
I try to at least read one book, and I mean sit down, and I have to read one page and wait 5 minutes and read, and so it takes me longer. But audiobooks. And so my question to you, you don't have any idea what I told you I was going to tell you this, but what are some excuses that you have that are now your superpower?
That's a good question. I would say time management is one of them. Time management is one of them. I think everybody's always asking, how the fuck is he doing everything he does? Mm-hmm. Right? How the fuck is he doing? Time management has to be biggest pitfall, now biggest strength. Also, a lot of people don't know this. I used to get I'm like a firecracker. Like I used to be like a total firecracker. I think you knew that. Like I used to pop off like really quick if you piss me off, So now I'm like the most patient person in the fucking world, and what that has done is allow things to develop. Being patient, let things just play out as is instead of me just, like I've changed a lot. So I think that me as a person has grown so much. That's why I'm like, some of these people, like, like especially in bodybuilding world, I'm like, these people just be talking so much shit, and I'm just like, dude, I'm not an industry person. Like, don't do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's taken a lot of work for that. And for me to that's another strength for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up is because there are excuses people have. That is now your super strength. Like that could potentially be, right? And the reason why I say it when it comes to my dyslexia, I have found another way to use it to my advantage. I think differently than most people do because my brain works different. And that's now my superpower, because I go into scenarios and I'm like, well, what about this? And like, we didn't think about it like that. And it's like, it's not because I'm smart. It's just because I figured out what my weakness was and just applied it to make it sure that I can still accomplish. Because like I said, I have adult dyslexia, which is that. But, again, if you want to read a book, one thing Audible is one of my best friends in the world. Podcast, you can start getting information, and then you find out like, hey man, there's a thing with excuses where they become excuse, and there's a point where you start working on them so much where they become your superpower. And that's why I wanted to ask you first, what are some of your excuses? And you start noticing like time management is one of the biggest things you could have an excuse about.
I would say another one of mine is being able to just totally shield myself off from bullshit. Like I can just totally cut everything out. That's a distraction. What people would consider distractions, right? I've mastered controlling my energy field. I tell you that, I don't let people take away from me so much anymore. I don't overgive either. I let things play out and see how I'm received. You know what I mean? So it's a lot, man, and just I've grown a lot, just doing that.
Yeah, and I've known you for being that kind of guy. Was like, say something crazy to Q, and he will come at you. He will let you know what's up. Like that's how I've known you for a very long time. But it was always, but in your defense, it was always real. Like I knew exactly who I was dealing with. If I did something that was not appropriate, or if something that you didn't like, you were real quick to let me know, or vice versa. I mean, we never had any issues, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're always that person.
I've always been like a non-tolerance type of person, because I'm so respectful to everybody, and I try to be like, really give everybody like their respect. Like everybody deserves like most upright respect. But when I'm like disrespected, you have to really fucking go out of your way to do that. And in my brain, I'm like, man, you really are trying to, like, you really are trying to be mean. Like, I'm just not that type of person to accept disrespect.
Right.
This is how it is.
But also, like I said, when we're talking to these college kids, you're talking to someone who's really young. Hey, man, when it comes to patience, it's time, man. Time humbles you. Time gets to that point where it just gives you a different perspective. And that's what I think is key, is that you have a different perspective now on everything.
On everything. Everything. And I really owe that to a lot of meditation, a lot of spirituality stuff, just really just coming together. You know what I mean? And like I said, these college kids, dude, they just don't handle stress they don't handle stress too well. And then a lot of them just want the top really, really quick. And I hate to sound like an old ass, but you're going to have to start from the bottom and appreciate that first. And then, you work your way up. And that is damn near, that is the key. Yeah. Straight up. And if you're stressing out about school, and all that, just wait till you got to pay some rent and try to keep a job. Shit. Yep. And then you're going to try to move back to your mom's house. That's a different type of pride. It's a lot of other things that can be going on, and just appreciate where you're at, and you'll get by. That's really it.
And as everyone starts becoming, entrepreneur is the new word, and everyone loves doing it. And it's not that fun. You know what I mean? And I want to go back to what we had last week when we had Nick on. Nick was like, "Hey, this is the crew. This is a clique." We don't talk that much either, though. Like, it just it's nothing personal. I might post like
concerned if y'all text me all the time.
Yeah,
I would be totally concerned. Like, they that busy. Like, what's going on? But I do love that we have this inner circle, and everybody knows that we're all busy. Like, hell, we didn't hear from Nick for a week. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm here. I was just having some issues, but you do need people like that in your corner. You do need a solid clique, but you don't need everybody. I would say if you got too many friends, you can't. If you can count all your friends on more than one hand, you got too many, in my opinion. There's just too many people in your business. There's too many people that can talk you out of things. There's just too many. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have the ability to shut that off.
Right.
And
what the final excuse is that you brought up already was, hey, the people you have around you, right? That's also a big excuse, because that does help you out. Now, I'll give a story about myself. There was a time when Joe Rogan, David Goggins, Jocko Willing, Gary Vee, E.T. the hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas were my best friends. If anyone knows who they are, those were my best friends, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who, they don't know who I am, right? They have no clue. There's no way I could be their best friend. And what I did is I found myself, I had no friends that were going to get it. And so what I did is I went on YouTube and I listened to everything, even to this day. First thing in the morning is motivation stuff, is like that stuff over and over again. And that's how I became best friends with them, because I just listened to everything they put out on the world. All the good stuff they're putting out about going to get it, go and do those things. And I found my little village of non-believables, it's like just virtual. And until I found what we have now, where we can go and we can talk about things, we share things, and it's like dope, good thing. And you don't hear about nobody. Why? Because everyone's out there go getting it.
Yeah. It's entrepreneurship's a lonely road, man. And the more successful you get, the more lonelier it gets, because and it sucks, because it sucks, and then it doesn't suck, because then when you start talking about things, it makes it sound like you're bragging, but you're really not. You're really just talking about your life and what you got going on, but it just sucks if nobody has to relate to you, right? But then sometimes conversations stop when you come around. It's it's just really weird at times, But a lot of times it's a reflection of other people own self onto you, right? And anybody who comes from like a small town, right, would know this, right? And a small town, even siblings or whatever, a lot of times they get mad the most, right? Like, a lot of times that hate comes from over there the most, and being around those type of people, those excuses of why I'm not doing things comes around the most. It's because, right, they known you forever, right? You come from the same fucking place. You've played on the same fucking playground, came from the same damn dirt, right? But somehow you are doing good, and they're just wondering, how the hell did he do it?
Yep.
Right? How the hell did he do it? And I can't do it. You can't do it, because they don't want you to leave. You see what I'm saying? So you got to stop falling into those traps of those people when they come in all kinds of forms. And, they come in, like I said, I have the ability to recognize friend or foe, but sometimes I get got like everybody else, but it just makes my armor tighter, you know? So, yeah.
And that's, that's something I like to tell people too, is like when someone gets mad at you or when you're telling people your dreams and they call you those things, more than likely, all you're doing is holding up a mirror and they're seeing themselves.
100%.
And they just can't, it's like they're mad at themselves. They're not mad at you. They're just mad that they can't do it or they can't see it. And you have the audacity to dream bigger.
Yeah. And I call it small town dreaming.
Yeah. And sometimes it's always, I think that's why it feels better. If you've known someone for a long time and you see them doing great and you tell, hey man, congrats, man. I've known you for a long time. You're doing awesome. It feels better because you're like, great. That means more than people that see you at your latest level, right? Your latest evolution in a sense. But again, so as we're wrapping this up, what kind of things do you got for excuses?
For excuses, I would say just write down a list, man. Write down a list and see what your setbacks are, right? I've had to do that. But mine always came back to time management, right? So I would say write down all your whatever you think is setting you back. I would say do that, and then once you do that, see how prioritize and see which ones are more important to take care of, and see how you're going to attack those goals. But as far as not doing them, that's bullshit. If you don't do the task that you're supposed to be doing and you do have a lot of excuses, you deserve to be exactly where the fuck you're supposed to be. Straight up. Because there's somebody who will, what they say, somebody who will, there's somebody who won't, there's somebody who will. Yep. Right? So if you start throwing your ideas out there, right? And this is why I don't talk about shit. You start throwing your ideas out there and guess what? That shit's out there in the universe, right? You're going to start talking, you ain't going to move on it, and then you're going to be mad when you see your damn product or where your ideas and somebody else is doing it that you knew. Mm-hmm. Because they listening. Yep. It's a lot. So I would say just do that before somebody, before you lose your opportunity.
Yeah, man. You put your head down, work, pick yourself up, you'll be a lot further where you're at, man.
Move in silence, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks, brother, for this, man. I think really good excuses. I'm glad again, man. I think you're at a position right now where you have more excuses than people know about, and that's kind of the point too, where nobody really knows you have excuses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm super private, man. A lot of people just don't know. But again, I'm a Southern boy. You project what you want people to see. You don't let everybody in. What's the old saying? Like, hey, you let a few people in your house, you can't let everybody in the whole village in your house. Like, that's nuts. Yep. You know. So yeah.
All right, well, guys, thanks for checking us out, man. As always, like, subscribe. We'll be over here, and until next time, talk to you later, brother.
Yep.